Talbinder Shergill is a Vancouver lawyer. She's typical of a new breed of Sikh women caught in a crossfire between faith and feminism.
To the Orthodox, I am unorthodox, and to the unorthodox, I'm ultra-Orthodox. It's sort of one of those damned if you do and damned if you don't kind of things. I will often get the greatest criticism or looks from people from my own community because they see me as being so unusual. I practice my religion, I wear a turban, and that's unusual. I'm a professional, and that's unusual. So my own community is often sort of, kind of wonders where the heck I came from. And it's not rare that when my husband and I, for example, will simply be walking down the street in Punjabi Market and somebody will want to ask a legal opinion of myself rather than asking me, they'll ask my husband, who is far from being a lawyer. So it's a little bit annoying, but it's there, and I simply see it as an aspect of the community that is changing, but certainly will take a long time to change, I think. I think it's simply the struggle that women in the community are facing right now is simply a reflection, I think, of the struggle that women in North American society have faced, which is a struggle towards feminism and towards acceptance. And I think although the sexism is certainly there in the Indian community, it's there in the North American society as well, and it just manifests itself in different ways.
Sikhs around the world share one thing in common, a deep commitment to the faith. But when it comes to Sikh politics, it's a whole other debate.
Until the British occupation in 1849, Punjab was an independent Sikh sovereign state. Following the partition of India in 1947, despite promises of renewed independence from both sides, Punjab remained in India. It's the struggle to regain their homeland they call Khalistan that's at the heart of all Sikh politics. Coventry University's Dr. Ian Talbot is Britain's most respected scholar in Sikh and Punjabi studies.
Within the last 10 years, there has been the militant campaign within Punjab for the establishment of Khalistan, and there have been various organizations which are formed as really commando units of the Khalistan movement. Within the Sikh community as a whole, there is great division, and even within the Akali Dal, which is seen as the main party in Punjab of the Sikhs, there's a great factionalization. But certainly the events post-1984 have led to greater support, both within Punjab and externally, for the Khalistan ideal. I think that the successive Indian governments have mishandled the situation within Punjab. They have been overly heavy-handed in their repression of the Khalistan movement, and that this has actually increased support amongst the general population for Khalistan, which didn't exist earlier on.
In the newly independent India, the Sikh struggle for religious and cultural autonomy led to violent clashes in the early 1980s. Although Sikhs were a majority in Punjab, they represented only 2% of India's 750 million people. The army charged with policing the situation did little to help. Inflaming the crisis and deepening the divisions, thousands were dying and a full-blown civil war seemed imminent. The Sikh leader was this man, Sant Jarnail Singh Bhindranwale. To his followers, he was a messiah. To the government, a murderer and a wanted terrorist. Bhindranwale never left the sanctuary of the Golden Temple, the Sikhs' holiest of holies. He was charismatic, he was militant, and he was 37 years old. But his dream of an independent Sikh state was Prime Minister Indira Gandhi's nightmare. In a country with so many opposing factions, autonomy for Punjab could easily have triggered the collapse of the nation. Yet even as the Golden Temple and its surrounding holy buildings were being heavily fortified by Bhindranwale's supporters, very few Sikhs actually believed that Gandhi would take that final fatal step and attack the shrine. It would be like the Italian army invading the Vatican, the ultimate act of profanity. Indira Gandhi was the supreme commander of one of the world's largest and most powerful armies. It included many Sikhs. Soviet-trained and equipped, they were an awesome force, much more than a match for Bhindranwale and his band of rebels. But on June the 4th, 1984, a Sikh High Holy Day, the unthinkable happened. The army assaulted the temple in what they codenamed Operation Blue Star. Thousands of Sikh pilgrims were killed. Sikh army officers were ordered to clean up the blood of the innocent. Mrs. Gandhi got what she wanted. It was the darkest day in Sikh history. Bhindranwale had been killed. All over India, riots erupted as outraged Sikhs took to the streets. Hundreds more died on both sides. Carnage and mayhem ruled the day. In North America, Gandhi was burned in effigy. And Indian government consulates and offices were stormed by incensed mobs.
Stay back! Stay back!
In London, a provisional government in exile of Khalistan was founded by Dr. Jagjit Singh Chauhan.
Sikhs will never forget it, what has been done to them, and it is still not over. It is only the beginning.
Indira Gandhi's fate now seemed sadly inescapable.
On October 31, 1984, the face of Indian politics changed when Indira Gandhi strolled through her garden and was assassinated here by two of her Sikh bodyguards, Beant Singh and Satwant Singh.
She was walking along this path from her bungalow to her office to be interviewed for the BBC by actor and television personality Peter Ustinov. He heard the shots and broke the news to a horrified world.
It was, I gather, two security men who did it. That's why it was so difficult to prevent. At least one of the security men was a Sikh who had been with her a long time and had been removed for security reasons by his bosses to some other work, and she asked for him back. There were certain 3 shots, independent shots, which I guess were the single shots of a submachine gun or of an automatic rifle of some sort. It turned out later to be a Sten gun.
The news of Gandhi's assassination galvanized Hindus into a frenzy of anti-Sikh protests. Mock-ups of Khalistan were torched, and a doctrine of hatred pounded into the streets. In Amritsar, once a busy commercial center, Sikh companies were bombed out of business. In New Delhi, thousands of Sikhs were slaughtered. Grief-stricken Hindus wept openly and mourned the loss of their great matriarch around the world. Of the assassins, Beant Singh was shot dead on the spot in Gandhi's garden. Satwant Singh was also shot, but survived to stand trial, was found guilty, and hanged. His defense lawyer was the noted Indian attorney, R.S. Sodhi. He remembers Satwant Singh's last words.
Prior to his being hung, he gave a last statement to the press. And that statement to the press did say this, that he had no enmity with Indira Gandhi, nor did he have any enmity with any section of the people or anybody. But he felt that it was his duty to which he performed by killing her, since she had, by her acts, desecrated the Sanctum Sanctorum.